Let's take garbage and make it shine. This whole project is asinine. Waste some time with me, I can guarantee this old junk will soon toe the line.
We polishing turds, mediocrity curd. I can't find the words, this song is absurd. We're polishing turds, we're polishing turds.
Alright, real good stuff doers. The day is here. The day when we start the assembly process. We got all of our prep work, machine balancing, honing, head work, intake work, all that's done, and it's time to start putting this thing together. The first thing that we have to do in this case is we bored out the cam tunnel for a needle bearing cam bearing. Well, now we've got to put these guys in, and that's one of my least favorite jobs, but anyhow, ain't nothing to it but to do it. So that we're gonna get this thing off the stand on a bench where I can start pulling these things. You can't really, it's not a good idea to just knock these things in. We have to pull them in. But anyhow, let's take a look at that process. All right, so we got my needle roller cam bearing installation tool, which is mostly kind of a thing I made because I didn't like the ones that were commercially available. These things have to be pulled in. Here's our bearing. There's a bushing here that's sized to the idea of it that locates it. Locked back down here, up front here. We've got a little roller bearing. You don't have to have that, but it kind of makes it nice. Another locator bushing here, a nut, and the key to this deal is the world's longest socket. I made this so that it can be done a lot quicker, and you'll see how. But anyhow, I'm going to set my camera up. Maybe you can kind of see this. I'm here by myself. I don't have any camera assistance, so let's see what I can do. All right, impossible to video and one person install at the same time, but you get the picture on how these go in. They're all in. For those of you not familiar with these are needle roller bearings to replace the Babbitt style small block Chevrolet bearings. These are larger, and what that does is allows for the base circle to be larger, and I'll show you that in just a second. Anyhow, they're in. One of the advantages of needle roller bearings, there are advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages is that these do not require pressurized lubrication. So they naturally block off the access port here that oils the cam. So we're getting rid of 5 controlled leaks when we do that, which can help raise oil pressure and put oil in other places, right? So that's a positive. Downside is these are a little thicker than a regular Babbitt bearing this way, so we have to bore the block a little bit bigger to install the same size camshaft, right? And a lot of times it's not a big deal, but it can be. It's just something to keep in mind. If they're all in, at this point, usually what I'll do is I'll slide the camshaft in and just make sure everything's in the right spot, make sure everything turns like it should. And speaking of which, let's look at this old camshaft versus new. So this is a stock journal camshaft. This is the 50 millimeter. And as you can tell, the biggest difference, the reason we do this is the base circle gets bigger. If you look at this, I haven't measured it, but it's significantly bigger than this, right? And that means the camshaft gets more rigid, and just the geometry of things in there gets way better. Less side loading on the lifter. In general, it's more gooder, and that's important when you're putting big nasty cams and stuff. You got to have all your geometry right. All right, moving on. All right, measuring rods. I got them all tore apart, engraved, cleaned up, and I use number 3. Generally, And I got the first one measured using a dial bore gauge, not plastic gauge, and I got 2.5 thousandths. That means that this set of bearings is probably going to work. Now we're going to put them in every single rod and check them all. I have known engine builders in the past that check one and assume the rest of them are right. Don't do that. That's bad juju. I have had many sets of rods, not many, but numerous occasions I've had rods that had one or two that were wrong, different. Usually what happens is the rod manufacturer will forget to torque it or something, or whoever's supposed to be honing the rods, sizing them, will forget to torque it correctly, one of them, and hone it, and then when you torque it up, it's way tight. Usually when I've had something wrong, that's how it is, right? And believe it or not, I think just about every time that I've had that occur, it was a high-end rod, not cheap stuff. Go figure. Anyhow, I'm going to put bearings in all these, torque them up, make sure they're all got enough clearance, and then we'll move on. All right, it's time to put these rods and pistons together. Here are our custom diamond gas ported doodads. Wrist pin is our rings are moved right down on our wrist pin, which is why we have the buttons here. Buttons allow you to do this a little more. In this case, we still have a O-ring support rail. It's not really to support the O-ring anymore, it's to keep this from turning. So it kind of works together. But one thing we have to do is these support rails normally have a little nipple here to keep it from turning. See it right there, maybe. When you're running a button, that would sit right there and pinch up on the O-ring. So we got to get rid of it, like this one here. I'll just sand that little spot down. Just makes it flat. Beefy wrist pins, if anything, a little bit too beefy, but they are what they are. So our rods all sized up. I'm gonna take them apart now and put them on the pistons, put the rings on. They're all filed in the bore here. Put the rings on, and then we'll be ready to short block this thing.
not for me. All hail King Jack. No turning back. All hail King Jack. No turning back.
All right, real good stuff, doers. We got us a fresh short block here, pans on, new balancer. Got to change our pointer because this is 7-inch and not a 6-inch or whatever we had on there before. So it's always something. Different crank bolt because it's a big block snout. Little things. Different timing cover because it's a big block snout. Requires a different seal. So I have to change everything. One thing leads to another. But anyhow, it's time to bolt these cylinder heads on. And you know what that means? That means that we're going to need exactly 1 tube of extreme pressure lube. It's one of my biggest hits. I mean, Walmart's biggest hits. So anyhow, let's do this thing. One other thing before the heads go on, forgot about, we got to put these in now, or it's a whole lot easier if we put them in now. BAM lifters, these are 904s. I use the 904 or the BAM stuff and just about everything, not everything, but everything when I can get them, I use them. The great lifters, got them all cleaned up. I'm gonna soak them in some oil here for a little bit, and then they're gonna go in before the heads go on.
Took the heads down, all the way down. 80 foot-pounds. I took the heads down. Extreme pressure lube. Exactly 1 tube. I tore the heads down.
All right, valve train, top end of this deal. We have shaft rockers from Crower. They're steel. Speaking of which, the Crower sales guys need to tighten up a little bit. So they've several times told us that these are billet, and they are obviously not billet. They have Crower cast into them. They're cast steel. They're nice. They're super good stuff. Crowler offers billet rockers, but these are not them. Anyhow, I've got a little bit of a shim under here to get our geometry a little better, and I'm kind of trying to figure out what pushrod length and size we can use. The important thing to do here is make sure that you run the adjuster out a little bit. It's not bottomed out in here. That way you got a little bit of room either way. Once you get things in there, you don't want to be all the way bottomed out, and it maybe works, maybe doesn't. But it looks like I'm gonna need an 8/100 push rod. These checkers are handy. They're from Manton, and they're 3/8, but they come with, I have little sleeves for them, and I can slide these up and down and see if I can use larger or not. In this case, I got a 7/16 sleeve there, and believe it or not, it will go, which is pretty cool. So, especially on the exhaust side, it's real close, but I'm okay with close. I'm okay with slightly touching if I can get a bigger push rod in there. And looks like we're gonna be able to do that. So I'm gonna be able to get a 7/16 push rod on both sides of this deal, and that's gonna be nothing but good. All right, the top side of our valve train, we got Manton push rods, 8/100 long. These are a single taper, 7/16 on the bottom, 3/8 on the top. Probably could have got 3/8 or 7/16 the whole way, but I didn't want to chance it, so I just put 3/8 at the top. It'll be plenty strong. Actually, I was kind of surprised I could get this in here at all, but these rockers have the cup shifted over a little bit, and that gives us a little bit more room, so that's good. Normally I use Manton in all the high-powered stuff. I probably could have got away without using Manton in this case, but nobody had any 8/100 push rods, so I had no choice. But anyhow, that's what's going in here is push rods. As far as push rods, they're beefy, stout units. One more thing, Crowler calls for 40 to 45 foot-pounds on these 7/16 bolts, bolting the rocker stand down to the cylinder head. That sounds pretty sketchy to me. So these are helicoiled as well, so they'll take a little more, but I would say 40-45 probably going to come loose on about anything. So I'm going to use my precision calibrated engine builder's elbow to adjust that torque spec a little bit. All right, so that wraps up close to the final episode of Polishing Turds, the assembly episode. The next thing we got to do, obviously, is get the motor back in the truck. That'll help happen whenever Cody and Justin can get back up here and work that out. Maybe a little bit of fab work has to happen. A few things are changing. Hoping we can get some better collectors on there. But motor's pretty much wrapped up. I'm not the super biggest fan of the oil pump situation, but we're going to try it. It was working before. Maybe it'll keep working. If it doesn't, we'll just pop the pan off and change that out. The pickup's a little sketchy. But it was working, so hopefully that'll continue. But anyhow, as soon as we get to that point, I will update you guys with a new episode of Polishing Turds. Merch is at HeraldEngine.com. Anything like that you want, like, share, subscribe. Only one thing left to do for this episode.
We're polishing turds. Mediocrity curve. I can't find the words. This song is absurd. We're polishing turds.